Alright, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is a live for Cape Tourism. So, I'm waiting for my tourism students to come on. I'm seeing some people coming on tonight, but these are social studies students. This is a live for Cape Tourism. If you guys can hear me, let me know that you can actually hear me. I'm going to go through what they are going to test you on, give some revision information, and also work out a few questions to give you the best possible chance of passing. Yes, Natasha, you are here. I'm sure you can hear. Oh, Natasha, you are here. I'm waiting on Rajay, Latisha, Wisdom, Jonathan, Danisha, Taliana. I'm waiting on you guys. I'm waiting on the 8 of you. Well, probably 7 because Dana probably not online, but I'm going to try and save this live and repost it in the group. Hopefully me know if I save it, because Instagram is not something that I can really use, but I'm trying to think. We have 1 hour to actually complete this live, so let us start. So ensure for the exam tomorrow morning, ensure that you can explain the concept tourism, discuss the classifications of tourism and tourists, ensure that you can describe the emergence of tourism both international and in the Caribbean, explain the components of the LIPA's tourism system, ensure that you can do that, explain the main impacts of tourism and tourist activity, discuss the issues affecting tourism, and evaluate the methods used to manage the issues affecting tourism. Alright, so let's look now at the classifications of tourist. Tourist is domestic, regional, international, inbound, and outbound. Domestic is when you travel within your area, and that person is also called an outbound tourist. Regional is when you travel within your own geographic area, and international is traveling outside of your geographic area. Alright, let me not do it this way, but let me go through all that you are going to be tested on before actually going to the information. Alright, so ensure that you know the sectors involved in the tourism sector, the difference between linkage and leakage as well, right? The main impacts relating to tourism. That's already. Alright, let's go into the general information now of what you are supposed to know. Alright, so a tourist is a person and tourism is the sector. Ensure that you know that distinction. Good. Tourism comprises the activities of persons traveling to and staying in places outside their usual environment for not more than 1 consecutive year for leisure, business, and other purposes. Good. So a person who stays less than 24 hours is called an excursionist and not a tourist. Understand that, ladies and gentlemen? Alright, good. Let's continue. So a visitor is a person visiting a country other than that in which he has his usual place of residence. And like a lot of times, I was looking on the papers from 2015 to 2018, and a lot of time they're asking persons to describe who a tourist is and also the LIPA's tourism model, right? Ensure you know the classifications of a tourist. Good. A domestic tourist, as I was saying before, is a person who travels within their own country for leisure or for pleasure. Inbound tourism involving non-residents traveling in the given country. So for example, somebody comes from overseas and comes to Jamaica, goes to Ochi, then goes to Montego Bay. That's an inbound tourist. Outbound tourists involving residents traveling in another country. International tourists traveling outside your own geographic area. No classifications of tourists, Natasha. This is not LIPA's tourism model that I'm explaining. This is the classifications of tourists. So tourists are classified 5 different ways: domestic, inbound, outbound, international, and regional. Alright? Hope you get that. Let's look now at the type of tourism. Right? We have two main types of tourism. We have tourism product. We have the traditional tourism product, which is sun, sea, and sand. Then we have the new tourism product. Like, these are new types of tourist interest, like ecotourism, cultural tourism, sports tourism, health tourism. So those examples that I'm giving, these are the types of tourism. Though I just remember something funny. These are the types of tourism. Good. Culture, I know that culture is the way of life of a people, right? We have special events like Reggae Sumfest, the thing where the Rastaman keep down at St. Thomas. I don't remember what's the name of it. So those are special events. Good. Then we have ecotourism. We know that eco deals with the natural environment. Which edutourism, not to say I don't know what that is. Nature-based is ecotourism. Then we have sports tourism. We also have health tourism. Good. Now let's look at the pull factors in tourism. Alright, so the pull factors are the factors that would cause potential tourists to want to visit a tourist destination. Things like the climate. Remember that in the Caribbean we have a tropical marine climate, meaning it is warm most of the times, right? So that is a factor that would cause people to want to come here. So therefore that is a pull factor. Alright, another pull factor is a stable political environment, because we don't have any like civil war breaking out in Jamaica where the people are fighting against the government or the government fighting against the people, and our government is not racist or classist or holding people against their will. So we have a stable political environment that would cause people to want to come here because they know that they are going to be safe. Good. Things like our natural resources, our nice beaches, our nice waterfalls, rivers that they can do rafting on, our probably mountainous regions, the forest that we have, like the cockpit country. So as a result of these natural resources, we can have like ecotourism, so people want to come and hike on the Blue Mountain. Then cultural diversity as well is a pull factor, because people like the way we dress, the way we dance. That is why the Europeans will come here and go to our parties or dances or a stage show to learn to sing like us, to DJ like us, to dance like us. People also like the food that we eat. Some traditional food that we eat, like jerk, was invented by the Maroons. That is big in Jamaica. We jerk pork, we jerk chicken, we jerk all kinds of things. Good. They also like our music, as we say, like they love reggae. So Bob Marley, and probably people are still into Mento and ska, because the Maroons were here during history. Their descendants are still here, so people come to actually move around in the marine towns, and some persons also live with them as well. Things like Kumina in St. Thomas, persons will come to Jamaica for those kinds of reasons. Good. Alright, let's look now at the push factors. Push factors are factors which encourage individuals to move away from their home setting through tourism. So many persons might be saying that there can't be any push factors, but yes, there are push factors for tourism, right? Things like enhancing relaxation. Persons might be in their traveler generating region, that's the places where the tourists live and are leaving from to come to the tourism destination. They might feel the need to relax, right? They might be working and then they become tired, so they want to leave that area to go somewhere to relax. Good. So also they might need a variety of sightseeing, so that might also be a push factor. They're tired of probably at the concrete jungle like in New York, or just the ice cold mountains in Greenland in Europe, so they want to come somewhere specific. Like you have persons who are into bird watching, things like those. Understand? Gaining knowledge too. You might have some researchers who are coming who want to go to a particular place to do some research. Like persons, they will go to Antarctica to study the animals, to study the ice caps that are melting. Persons, we have certain indigenous animals in Jamaica. They might want to come and study them, like iguana, the swallowtail butterfly, the hummingbird, things like those. They might want to come to study, so they become a tourist. Ensure that you remember 3 points for each area. Once you remember 3 points, I don't think you can go wrong with that. Oh Lord. Yes. Ensure that you know about global and Caribbean tourism and the contribution globally. Understand that, ladies and gentlemen. Are there any questions so far? Are there any questions? Ensure remember that information that I gave you about the historical perspective of tourism, right? Ensure that you know those kinds of information, because I think I saw one question that they asked, what gave rise to the emergence of tourism? Something like that they ask, right? One issue that gave rise to the emergence of tourism is that persons became exposed to more disposable income, because the jobs, they were earning extra money, so they have the money for actually travel. The development or access to tourism destination through air and seaports, that's also gave the rise to the development of tourism. The advent of tourism services, right? Like travel agencies offering package deals, because you know that some travel agents give you a better deal than if you actually go and buy the plane ticket yourself, book the hotel yourself. The travel agencies get certain deals and they pass them on to customers. So those are some of the things that gave rise to tourism globally. Not to say about global and international. I don't know what you're asking. I really don't know what you're asking. I really don't know. Alright, let's look now at the benefits of tourism to the Caribbean. Ensure that you have down these points, Pat, and you can actually explain them, right? Tourism creates employment. Tourism creates employment both directly and indirectly. When we say directly, persons are employed directly in the tourism sector, like managers, busboy, kitchen staff, the janitors, the groundsman. We say managers already, supervisors, right? Tourism also creates indirect employment by way of linkages, because the tourism sector cannot survive on its own, right? So it needs to get its food from somewhere. So that creates a link with agriculture and manufacturing. Sometimes they need a bus company or a taxi company to transport their customers to and from the premises. Good. So transport also is a link that is created. Entertainment is a link that is created, because many tourism destinations have live bands. Understand that, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, tourism, another benefit is it exposes the culture of the Caribbean. So our culture can be known worldwide. Good. Increases the standard of living through employment, because when persons are working, they can be better able to take care of their families, right? increases emphasis in preserving heritage sites, arts, and artifacts, because persons come to visit our heritage sites or to view museums. And if community, we know that community tourism has now become a big thing, right? So local communities have now become involved in tourism. So because they are involved and they're actually making money through linkages, they are better. They will be what I should say, they will be more willing, right, to take care of those sites, because that is what is making money for them, right? Tourism also provides foreign exchange to purchase goods from abroad. Tourism is one of our biggest foreign exchange earners in Jamaica, and that money is used to build and improve infrastructure and to also purchase goods through import and pay off our debt that we owe internationally. Good. Tourism provides tax for the government, both directly through PAYE and income tax and things like stamp duty, and also indirectly through GCT, because all of us, we know that we pay GCT. Good. We say tourism creates a reduction in crime because less persons are idle. We know that the more persons that are employed, the less likely it is that they will be involved in crime and violence, right? Alright, let's look now at the LIPAS tourism model. The LIPAS tourism model, or the LIPAS tourism system. Ensure that you know this. I've seen this question on 2 different papers. Good. First, we have the traveler generating region, or the supply country. This is where the tourists are coming from. This is the home country of the tourists. So that's a traveler generating region. Then now we have the transit route. That's the route that they are going to take to go to the tourist destination region. So we have the traveler generating region and we have the tourist destination region. So between the traveler generating region and the tourist destination region, we have the transit route. So they're leaving from their country, going to the tourist destination country. So it's pretty easy. Understand that, ladies and gentlemen? I hope you understand the LIPAS tourism model, or the tourism system, because I've seen that question on 2 papers. Good. So the tourist generating region is the supply country. Tourist destination region is the host country. And how they travel, that's the transit route. How they travel to get there, whether by airport or whether by air travel or sea travel or land travel. Because remember, so we have internal tourists as well. Like the other day, I was at Royalton Blue Waters. So I was an internal tourist. So I left from Portmore, went all the way to Trelawney. Understand? So my traveler generating region was Portmore. My transit route was via bus on the highway, and my tourism destination region was Trelawney. Understand, ladies and gentlemen? Pretty easy. Alright, and I'm sure I drew this diagram on the board, so you can look back on the diagram so that you can understand a little bit further. Ensure that you know the organizations in tourism. I've seen this question one time as well. International Organization for Tourism is the United Nations World Tourism Organization. One more time, International Organization for Tourism is the United Nations World Tourism Organization. Then we have the World Travel and Tourism Council. We also have the International Airport Transit Council. Regional, we have the Caribbean Tourism Organization. We have the Caribbean Tourism and Hotel Organization. And we have Florida Caribbean Cruise Association. Local, in Jamaica, we have the Jamaica Tourist Board. We have the Jamaica Tourist Board. That's the one that we have. There's also the Tourism Enhancement Fund. This was passed by Parliament in December in 2004. Legal basis for the Ministry of Tourism to establish a mechanism for the collection of a small fee from incoming airline and cruise passengers. So it's a way of government to earn revenue. Alright. Linkage now. There are core sectors different from key sectors. Right? So remember, we said that tourism creates a lot of linkage. This is other business that is created through tourism, right? As we say, accommodation, transport, agriculture, special events, those kinds of things. Alright, entertainment. I'm sure I said entertainment already. Alright, let's look now at the impacts of tourism. Alright, so the first impact that we are going to look at is the socio-cultural impact of tourism. Alright, write down this definition for socio-cultural: related to the different groups of people in society and their habits, traditions, and beliefs. One more time, related to the different groups of people in society and their habits, traditions, and beliefs. So socio-cultural is a merging of social, which is human interaction, and cultural, the way of life of a people. So it's pretty easy. So let's look now at the socio-cultural impacts. Alright, so socio-cultural impacts, these are effects on host communities of direct and indirect relations with tourists and of interaction with the tourism industry. Good. Host communities are often the weaker party in interactions with their guests and providers. Socio-cultural impacts of tourism, let's look at the positive and negative. Natasha, what you want me to wait on? What you want me to wait on? Tell me what you want me to wait on, and then I will wait. Yes, Natasha is saying wait, and I am still waiting for you to type. Still waiting. Alright, let me continue until Natasha tells me what to wait on. Alright, so the socio-cultural impact. Alright, preservation and restoration of cultural heritage, because remember that cultural tourism is a new tourism product. Right, cultural tourism is a new tourism product. So because it is new and it is generating employment, making money for the business owner and also the government, persons are going to want to preserve it, and the government are going to put things in place to also preserve it as well. Right, revival of traditional arts and crafts, especially with community-based tourism. And we have in several of our parishes, we have craft villages where the craft vendors set up and they sell the craft items. Good. Cultivation of cultural pride and a sense of identity, because persons want to come here to experience our culture. So persons in Jamaica are going to, well, not necessarily in Jamaica, but any tourism region, are going to think of themselves, say, boy, it really makes sense, you understand, and our culture is important if persons want to come here and actually experience it. That is why the dancers make so much money when they go over to Europe to actually teach dance class. 1 second. To teach dance class, and people crazy over our Jamaican culture. Even when you get the opportunity to travel overseas and the way you speak, persons like the way that you speak and want to speak like us. They must say Irie or Yemen, even though their Jamaican accent becomes fake. Right? There's also cross-cultural exchange as a positive socio-cultural impact. So they experience some of our culture and we also experience some of their culture, and we take the things that we like and discard the things that we don't like. Right? Could you talk a little slowly? Alright, I'm going to try to talk slower. Alright, a negative impact of tourism, a negative socio-cultural impact of tourism is a loss of authenticity and meaning of traditional arts and crafts. Meaning it's not as real as we in Jamaica would experience it, because many times they water down our arts and crafts or our culture in order to make it more appealing to tourists. For example, like Kumina, you know that in a part in Kumina, persons could get in Mayal. That is where they become spirit possessed and they don't know themselves. They bark like dog or they climb trees or something like that. When we are presenting it to tourists, they don't go as far because they don't want to scare them, so they kind of water it down. So some persons are saying that that is a negative, right? Potential misunderstandings and conflicts between residents and tourists. Sometimes tourists and residents don't understand each other and they can't tolerate differences, so sometimes personalities might clash and it causes a conflict. Alright, let's look now at the economic impact of tourism. Economic impact, ensure that you can explain 3 of these, because I keep seeing this question. It's on almost all the past papers that I've looked at, the economic impact of tourism. Let's look at the positive. Major positive is that tourism is a major foreign exchange earner, so that's a huge economic impact. And remember, you must be able to explain this, because this is probably worth 15 marks, and you can't just say, oh, a positive economic impact is that tourism is a major foreign exchange earner. You must be able to explain that by saying that yes, tourism is a major foreign exchange earner because the government makes money from tourism. Also, business people makes money from tourism, and this benefits us because we can pay for goods that we import, we can build and improve infrastructure, understand, we can pay down our debt to GDP rate, right? Those are the things that you must be able to explain in your answer. Good. Tourism, another economic impact is that tourism contributes to government revenue. Remember, we say already, government can make money from tourism, right? Tourism also generates employment, good, both directly and indirectly. Good. Stimulation of infrastructure investment. Remember, we say infrastructure are things like roads, schools, hospitals, clinics. They pay for sanitation. Understand that, ladies and gentlemen. Contribution to local economies. Good, because some of the money that is made in tourism is spent back into the local communities. Good. Tourism also carries with it some negative impact as well, right? There's also a high dependence on tourism. That sometimes can be a negative, because if the tourism industry suffers a major loss, then the entire country suffers, because the country is dependent heavily on tourism. So for example, if a natural disaster happens, right, so we see like a hurricane, or God forbid a tsunami or a volcanic eruption, then the tourism sector is disturbed, and then the country is not making that big chunk of money that it used to, and all kind of bad things are going to start to happen in the country if the country depends heavily on tourism. Good. There's also the seasonality of some tourism products, right? We know that in the summer months, probably where it is warm in some climates, some persons might not see the benefit of coming to a warm country either, right? We have things like, say for example, like the water park down by Westmoreland, right? Sometimes they have to close because nobody is going there, so it becomes now a seasonal business. In Jamaica, we make the most money from tourism in the winter season. So when countries in the temperate zone are experiencing winter, like from December to about March, we have a high rate of tourists coming into Jamaica. But say like April, May, it kind of dip and becomes smaller. Understand, so they're not making as much money as the winter season, so that might be a problem. Also, there might be a problem with leakage. Remember, we said there are 2 types of leakages. Leakages is money that is earned in tourism that is not spent back into the country or into the local communities, right? Sometimes this money that is earned is spent on imports, and a lot of the tourism products or the businesses are owned by international persons. So when they make the money from tourism in a country, it is not spent back in the country, but it is sent to their home country to go into the banks or to build businesses in their country or to be spent in their country. Understand? There's also the threat of prostitution. Many tourists go to a particular tourist country for sex. Might sound strange, but it's a reality. And with this comes with the threat of HIV/AIDS, right? The rent-a-dread phenomenon in Jamaica, it's a real thing. It is where a lot of Caucasian women, Europeans from the Americas, America and Canada, they come to Jamaica to have sex with Rastamen because they believe that Rastamen are very potent and they have very large penises and can please them. So the rent-a-dread phenomenon, it's a real thing. So they actually come for those purposes. You have women and men who prostitute themselves to tourists who are looking for sex, and that's a bad economic impact of tourism, or a negative economic impact of tourism. Alright, let's look now at the impact of tourism on the environment. Good. Positive impact now of tourism on the environment is that conservation of important natural resources. With the emergence of like ecotourism, that is tourism in relation to the natural environment, people come from the natural environment, it is going to be preserved, because if it is not preserved, then there is nothing for the ecotourist to view. That's just simple put. Conservation of archaeological and historical sites, we said that before. Good. Active measures to protect endangered species, like legislation is put in place that if you hurt certain species, then you can be put in jail or you can be charged a large sum of money. For example, in Jamaica, like the doctor bird, the swallowtail butterfly, iguanas, things like crocodile, those are endangered species. Certain trees like the national tree and the national flower, if you are caught cutting them down, then you will be fined or sent to jail. Right? Improvement of the environment quality, just things like ensuring that there's no pollution in our beaches and our rivers, them ensure that the place look pretty, them paint it up, them fix roads, them put in street lights so that you can get good lighting, improvement of infrastructure. So a lot of the tourist destination, they have very good roads, right? Lighting is there, understand there's proper sanitation there is safety and security, so them ensure that police and security guards are there to preserve the quality of life, or to ensure that it's a safe environment. Let's look now at the negative environmental impact of tourism. There is a depletion of natural resources, right? Overuse of water for hotels, swimming pools, golf courses, and even for personal use, right? Local population don't have enough water for their own needs because we're experiencing a water crisis in Jamaica. However, these resort areas, these tourism products, they will always have water because they have their ways of getting it. So it is usually bought, them have the money so they can purchase it. Understand? Local resources, energy, food, raw materials used excessively in tourism. This damages the environment physically because this raw material is usually extracted to benefit the tourism industry. Tourism uses a lot of energy, even though some sectors in tourism have moved into like conservation because they're using like solar panels and those things. Good. There's also land degradation, right? Land destroyed due to tourist activities, right? Some of our prime real estate is given to tourists, so our farmers also suffer as well. Good. Construction of facilities attracts damage to natural environment. Good, because they have to dig up, and some of the places today have to cut down trees, which are natural habitats for birds, and some of them are endangered species. But because the tourism product makes so much money, sometimes they just overstep that agency, like the National Environment and Planning Agency. Sometimes they overstep them to create these the tourist areas, right? Issues affecting tourism. Note these issues that affect tourism. Safety and security, like crime. Crime is an issue that affecting tourism. Some tourists or tourism. Sometimes the tourists are what's that word I'm looking for? Sometimes the tourists are harassed by locals, people forcing them to drive in their vehicles to come to whatever event they are having, buying from them. Some of the tourists are raped. A recent story, I think early this year or late last year, where two ladies were raped by a hotel worker and they were international tourists. Understand, epidemics and health risks such as HIV and AIDS. Rapid technological change is also an issue affecting tourism. Good. All of these services that you can get online, the advent of social media, especially if somebody has a complaint, they can put it all over social media. No news travels fast like word of mouth, right? So the tourism industry has to get with the time and move with the technological changes. Good. Risk and disaster management, because in the Caribbean we are situated in a disaster zone. So many of us, we are prone to hurricanes, earthquakes, a tsunami can happen, and places like Montserrat that has active volcanoes. So we have to be ready. The tourism industry has to be ready to deal with those things, right? There's also change in consumer taste and preferences, right? A lot of persons are moving away from the traditional tourism product, like the all-inclusive hotels where you just come, you stay in one environment for your entire trip, and then you go back home. Persons are going into community tourism, bed and breakfast, where you go into local communities and you rent a room and you live and experience the culture of the people. Persons are also into ecotourism, where them come and view the natural environment. So they will take a hike in Blue Mountain, they will go to the Green Grotto Caves, Twin Sister Cave in Elsha. Understand, ladies and gentlemen? Alright. There's also the threat of outbreak of diseases. Well, probably not in Jamaica, because remember the other day when they had the outbreak of Ebola, persons didn't want to go to Africa. Well, probably in Jamaica, things like malaria or dengue might still be a problem. Good. Technology, these issues affecting tourism can both be negative and positive, Please make that notation. Alright. Let's look now at the strategies to manage tourism issues. Education and awareness. Always inform people so that people can be armed with information, right? Public relations issues. So go out there and make the public know what is going to happen. The use of information and communication technologies. Things like social media, the TV, billboards, radio, newspaper. Put the information out there, right? They have to implement sustainable tourism practices, and we know that sustainable tourism practice is something that you're going to put in place to ensure that the tourism product can continue. Things like conservation, right? So you don't overuse resources, because you need the resources, some of it, to remain for future use. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, you have to have the development of risk and disaster management plans. So just in case a disaster happens, there must be a plan in order to treat or to deal with that disaster. Alright, so these are some things that you should know. Good. Must know the range of supply services involved in the provision of tourism services. Understand the importance of intersectorial linkages for economic development. Ensure that you know all the sectors of tourism. Ensure that you know all the sectors of tourism, right? Ensure that you know the economic impacts associated with intersectorial linkages. Good? Ensure that you know that. Ensure you know the opportunities and challenges with developing intersectorial linkages. Good? Alright, let's look at the sectors in tourism. Accommodation, that's the hotels. Adventure tourism and recreation. Adventure tourism and recreation. Things like Chukka Cove. They want to probably go to the Green Grotto Caves, or they want to relax at a waterfall like Dunn's River Falls. Good. Attractions like Bob Marley Museum. Same Green Grotto Caves, probably the Rose Hall Great House. That's an attraction. Dunn's River Falls. Events and conferences. Many companies or individuals hold big conferences, and sometimes they take it to a tourist country and go like to the Jamaica Conference Center or the Montego Bay Conference Center and keep their conference. And some hotel have some big conference hall that they can keep, like Hilton, like the Hilton Hotel in Kingston, those things. Events, as we said before, like Reggae Sumfest, Sunsplash, the Rasta event to keep down at St. Thomas, Rebel Salute, right? Like Dream Weekend, that's a tourist event since of lately, those things, right? Food and beverage is another sector in tourism, that's the restaurants, sorry. Good. Tourism services, those are like the travel agencies. Transportation, no, get that out of your mind about the tourism services. I'm sorry. Alright, let's look now at what the tourism services are. Advertising agencies, travel writers, photographers, consultants, tourism, hospitality, educators, website developers. So these people can actually put your business out there, and you have to try to ensure that your business is top notch or you are on top of your game, because if they write a bad review about you, thousands of persons are going to see that review. Good. Another sector is transportation, that's vehicular movement. There's also travel trade. These now, are the travel agencies. Travel trade, those are the travel agencies. The tour guides, the tourism suppliers, where persons in the tourism sector get their goods to purchase from. Understand? Let's look now at the categories of attraction. There is natural attraction, things that is created by God, like the Duns River waterfalls. Good. There are man-made attractions. Good. This is like a water park. That's a man-made attraction, right? And there are also special events that we went over already. Good. Giving you some more example: natural, beaches, caves, mountains, forests, rivers, flora and fauna. We know that flora is trees, fauna are animals. Good. Man-made, some man-made attractions: churches, historical buildings, forts, monuments, museums, theme parks like a water park, so special events, musical festivals like jazz festival, cultural events, sporting events, because persons come to Jamaica for boys and girls champs, right, or to watch reggae boys play, or if they have been hockey out here or surfing that happens in St. Thomas sometime. Good. Ensure that you know each sector and know what they offer, like accommodation, and know certain terminologies. These are the presentations that went forth. Please look back at the presentations, and I sent the information in the group a long time ago what each person should present on. Ensure that you go over them and read them. Like for attractions, know the natural attractions different from man-made attractions, right? Look at adventure tourism, things like ecotourism, recreation parks, fishing facilities, marine facilities, golf, yacht, off-the-road tours. Ensure that you know those things, right? Activities where them doing adventure tourism, things like mountain biking, skiing, rafting, paragliding. That's a little thing like a parachute where them let out and go straight across until them land on the ground. Some things like those. Go and ensure that you read up on each sector in tourism, because some of the presentations were not so good while some of them were good. So ensure that you read up on them. I can't stress this enough, right? Let's look at the impact of tourism another time. Economic linkage. Listen closely. The extent to which the subsectors of the tourism industry use goods and services available in other sectors of the economy. If the tourism industry mainly local goods and services tourism is said to have strong linkage with other sectors of the economy. For example, a hotel buys most of its food from local farmers and manufacturers. So the tourism industry should seek to make a linkage, right? And in making this linkage, the main aim should be to make local linkage. So the tourism sector should support local businesses. For example, if they want yams, their first option shouldn't be to look overseas for yams. Their first option should be to look locally for yams. So that will create a linkage in agriculture. Pretty easy. I hope you guys are grasping what I'm saying, and you are understanding. I hope so. Alright. So ensure that you know that, students, please look at the syllabus. Eat what you grow and grow what you eat. Yes, Natasha, you sound like you're gonna get the one, in a escape something, because you sound like you're ready. I sent the syllabus in the group. Please reread the syllabus to see all the areas that you are supposed to cover. Look at the objectives of the syllabus for Unit 1 to ensure that you have covered all the areas, and you must be able to explain your answer. You must be able to explain your answer, ladies and gentlemen. Alright. I'm looking now to find a question to see that how we can actually live a pause. I don't know why it's pausing, I really don't know. Is it functioning properly now? Tell me if it's functioning properly. Me must resend the thing. Lord God, I'm not joking, right? You have to go all the way back to about October, and you will see the syllabus. I am trying to find the booklet with the past paper, but it's giving me a little problem. Everybody has said it has start freeze. I don't know why. I really don't know why it's freezing. I'm going to repost it in the group. Are you guys seeing me now? Tell me if you're seeing me now, and if it is still pausing. Tell me if you're seeing me. Tell me if you're seeing me, guys.